Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing fine. Let me see if mic is working. Just write something in the comment that you can hear me properly. So today are you ready for very important session on William Shakespeare? And you won't believe how many questions getting uh, this section, especially our William Shakespeare. So as we have discussed in our previous session that five questions are coming from this session itself, and you can add two more in that. So total seven questions you are getting from these 3 to 4 sessions. Right, today is very important because I have been just analyzing all kind of past 7 to 8 years, and I found there are more than 50 to 60 questions that they have asked in total, which means every time they are asking two questions on Shakespeare. It could be directly from the chronology order, or they are asking from the critical point of view, like what other critics or authors said about it, and what kind of adaptation are there, all these things. And I have collected very important points for you. That's gonna be a long session for this. If we are not able to complete today, we will do it tonight itself and clear with it. Anyway, very important thing is that you should know the chronology order of William Shakespeare. They keep asking the same thing, and as we have the formula to remember whatever the order is, right, we just write first work, last work, then in between, and all these things, and some of the codes also. But this time you don't have to remember too much about the code. You can go through the formula, because as you know, his life span is somewhere around 1590 to 1616, 1613 in fact. So in that case, you have to follow not so much thing, because like 10 works are history plays, so that you can divide through that. And we'll again use the formula to remember, because one question you're getting from chronology order. Right, and the other will be the order of important works. They don't ask, like, they will ask you something else, like Edward III, the order of chronology order. They are not going to ask that, not important work, but very important, like the tragedies, important romances, or the comedies. Right, so let's begin. But before that, I just want to check out. Uh, I think some of you are already there. But anyway, you can access it later. So let's begin. So as you see, William Shakespeare is on your screen. Remember the date, this 1564 to 1616. Another playwright at this time we have also Marlowe. Remember, the same time he kind of Marlowe, same 1564 his birth. We remember as a code as twin, right? So that's there anyway. So the life simple. He was born where? Everybody knows, who belonged to English literature. Stratford upon Avon. Date you may know, 1564. Then he was baptized April 26th, 1564. Let me do the zoom and then it'll be easy. And he died April 23rd. So same day, he born on April 23 and also died on April 23. Remember his father was glove maker. His name was John Shakespeare, and his mother was Mary Arden, and he was the oldest surviving child out of eight siblings. And as you know, he attended local grammar school, and where what he said about Ben Jonson said about Shakespeare that he knew small Latin and less Greek. Shakespeare married to another event happened in his life that he married to Anne Hathaway when he was only 18. Anne Hathaway was 8 years older than say Shakespeare. And the couple had three children, Susanna, twin Hamnet, and Judith. And one of them died. What was his name? Hamnet, when he was 11. Right. Okay. So the period from 1585 to 1592 is called what? Lost era. We don't know anything about Shakespeare in that, span of like 7 years. Robert Greene, as you know, we have studied in our previous session called Upstart Crow. Very important, you get question based on that in your exam. And his first printed works, as you know, you should remember that Shakespeare started his career, you know, with the poem. So his first printed work, Venus and Adonis, and then The Rape of Lucre. He became a founding member of Lord Chamberlain. Another was Admiral, remember? And who was the member? Marlowe. And the company later became as what? The King's Men. Shakespeare produced two plays a year. Every year, two plays usually, but sometime four, sometime three. That will uh, tell you when we discuss about his plays. Anyway, he wrote King Lear, Macbeth, Winter's Tale, Tempest, and he has the connection with the Globe Theatre, and which was burned in 1613. And that time, what? Uh, Again, he was signed on his will, not important for you, and he is buried in where he was born, Stratford upon Avon, Holy Trinity Church. Right. First, we're going to talk about his poetries. As you know, he has written two long narratives. And what are these? First is Venus and Adonis, which was published in 1593 and showed sign of immaturity but great beauty. So he started his career, you should remember, with the poem. It tells what about Venus' unrequited love for Adonis. And the poem is pastoral. Very important because in exam they ask to classify the poem. Again written in 6 lines, stanza A B A and then B A B A B, and then we have at the end rhyming couplet. Right, poem consists total number of 193 stanzas or total 1100 what 94 lines in total. Published as quarto pamphlet by Richard Field from Stratford. Poems begin with dedication of Henry Wriothesley. Remember this poem, Venus and Adonis, based on who? Ovid's Metamorphosis. Venus offers her body to Adonis in graphically explicit term. So you don't have to know about much about the plot of this, but what you should know that it was a narrative poem written by Shakespeare. Okay, already Deepika is here. Diksha is here, and I hope you're enjoying the session. Okay, let's continue. The second narrative poem, as you know, is The Rape of Lucre. So Vasundhara is also there. Hi Vashu. And that's good that you guys are here on time. We have just started about this William Shakespeare, and we are going to cover whatever they have asked in the exam. Very important thing, and as you know, they are keep asking at least 2 to 3 questions every single time on Shakespeare. It could be directly or indirectly, like some critics what they said about Shakespeare, all this stuff, right? So we were talking about the rape of Lucrece. Remember, it was written in rhyme royal, dedicated, very important, to Earl of Southampton. And the arguments summarize the historical context starting in medias res. Again, the some lines are there, and scheme again AB format, and here two times rhyme that you can see. And another narrative poem we have is the Passionate Pilgrims, right? And it was published under Shakespeare's name first time. And remember, it was published by William Zagard. Total 20 poems and 5 written by in his style Shakespearean, and 2 sonnets later appeared from this into Shakespeare's sonnet, and 3 poems were kind of extracted from Shakespeare's play Love's Labour's Lost. For what you have to remember for the passionate pilgrims, because of this also. The passionate suffered to his love is a kind of reply by Christopher Marlowe. Okay, total, you know how many plays Shakespeare has written? 38 plays, but in quarto, how much you get? 36 in first quarter. Very important. Sometimes they ask question very confusing, but you should know in first folio it was published in 1623 and total number of plays were 36. And in the first folio we don't have poetry in that. And as you know, very some of the poems, other poems you may see full fathom 5. In areas there was a song of full fathom 5, and the willow song in Othello, and take or take these lifts away. This is also a song appeared in Measure for Measure. The noble Darsh fear no more the heat of the sun in Cymbeline. Shakespeare would have been great lyrical poet if not the greatest dramatist. So he was kind of excel in both drama and as a poet as well. So let me tell you about Shakespeare sonnet. They're not asking too much about it. They might ask to analyze. They'll give you the sonnet in your exam, and they'll ask you to analyze it or interpret it, or they might ask what is the metaphor used, what the conceit used, is there any alliteration or assonance, all these stuff they are going to ask. They might ask about the simile. So what they are doing these days now, they are giving the poem, I mean sonnet Shakespeare in your exam full text, and then they'll ask you to analyze it or interpret it. Okay, so as you know, everybody knows, whoever is associated with the literature, they know that Shakespeare sonnet is what dedicated to Mr. W.H. And it was printed by Thomas Thorpe. Very important, they have asked question in both of these. As you know, sonnet, how many sonnets are there? 154. And again in the Shakespearean stanza form that we know, how many are there? 14 lines, pair A B A, B, then we have C, D, C, D, and we have E, F, E, F. Remember, three quarto, and we end with a couplet. GG is a couplet. And in between, when they shift from this quatrain to rhyming couplet, there is a turn. That is very important that you should know. And that turn is usually called what? Volta. Very important that you should know the rhyming scheme of Shakespearean sonnet. So as you know, it is divided into two groups of unequal size. The first group is what? Friendship with this WH, and the later part, second part, is about the Dark Lady. Actually, nobody knows who is the Dark Lady, but some believe that it is Mary Fitton. Shakespeare likely to follow the common practice of sonnet. So at that time, what usually poet used to do, they used to model a lady, and most of the time is what? Imaginary. So there is chance, there are chances that Dark Lady is also an imaginary lady who has black hair. Okay, again, you know the rhyming scheme as I told you: three quadrant and one couplet, and there is between a turn that is called volta. Okay, and some important sonnets are like 30, 33, 55, 71, 116, and they are praised as thick clusters of starlight. So these are the most famous sonnets that you should remember. And as you know, The Dark Lady of the Sonnet is a short comedy by George Bernard Shaw, and they have asked question not one, not twice, not three, but total 5 times. So that in that case, this point is very important for you to remember. And some of the poem you know that sonnet 18 everybody knows about it. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Then sonnet 29, when in disgrace with fortune and men's eye. And these days, what poem is, what sonnet they are asking in exam is this: let me not to the marriage of true minds, and which is sonnet number 60. They're asking question from that, if they are asking. Anyway, question sonnet 30, we have went to the sessions of sweet silent thought. Right, sonnet 33, full many a glorious morning have I. Another sonnet very important, which is 55, oh not marble nor the gilded monument. And another, it's the same like 18, very famous, but this time opposite, right? Where is it? This one, sonnet, my mistress eyes are nothing like the sun. So it's a kind of Petrarchian but completely opposite that you should know. Another is sonnet 60, which is like as the waves make toward the pebbled stone. Anyway, these are the sonnets that you should actually have little bit idea about it. Okay, like as I told you, they are asking what sonnet in your exam, and they are asking to analyze it, interpret it. Like here, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eyes of heaven shine, and often is his gold complexion dim. So total we have How many line? Two, two, two. Six line, and they're asking five questions from that. So, first question you got, the poem is an example of what? And they are comparing with what? Indian criticism. Like Paramprati Rupak, all these things. So the poem is an example of, if you know the English, then you would understand that, that these particular words, if you know the English of it, then it will be easy for you to answer. It is a consequential metaphor. Very important. Okay, so the same kind of question again, they're asking. So I just put it here for you to remember. And if you can find this in your notes, these explanations, and also in your PYQ that we have quizzes in your course. So these are the things that they are asking. What is the addressee in the poem? It's a masculine gender. Some question you can also see from, what is the upmaya? Upmaya means what? Object compared to. So it is compared, upmaya is here, object. So what is the object here? Is a man, right? So addressee. The next question they are asking, what is the upmana? Object compared to. This time the object is compared to who? They're compared to summer's day. And which of the following statements rightly shows the relationship of Upmaya with Upmana in the poem? So, Upmaya is superior to Upmana. Okay, so that was here. You can check the explanation in your notes if you want to go more deep into this. But anyway, these kinds of question they are asking in your exam. Then we have to remember another important before we jump into what drama, we have to know the Shakespearean actors. Richard Burbage, very important, and he was also one of the most famous actor of the Globe Theatre. And Burbage was also theatre honor with who? Shakespeare. Richard Cowley, another important actor who died on 1619, and he was also shareholder of Lord Chamberlain's man, and he played Verges in Much Ado About Nothing alongside with William Kemp. So Burbage is most famous for Hamlet, Othello, and Richard. Mostly he was the hero, most of the Shakespearean plays. Another was who? William Kemp. Kemp was known as a clown and a dancer of Shakespeare. So usually what kind of role he got, like Falstaff, Bottom, Lancelot, Gobbo. Robert Armin, another important Shakespearean actor who played as a fool most of the time, like Fest in Twelfth Night and Fool in King Lear. He also performed as Abel Drugger in Ben Jonson's The Alchemist. The last one, as you can see, Nathan Field. And he was acted with Children of Queen's Revels as King's Men. And again, he played some of the important role. Anyway, and now we'll talk about his play. So when you talk about Shakespeare's play, you should know all these things before you move. So as you know, total he has written 38, and 36 was in 1623 folio, quarto or folio you can say. It was published, and no original manuscripts of Shakespeare play exist today. 36 they were all collected in here 1623. None of Shakespeare's plays were printed by him, all manuscript perished. First folio edition 1623 include 36 dramas or play. Then 18 plays appeared in quarto form. So first it was quarto and it was 18, then total 36. And dates registered where Stationer's Hall. There was a question based on that. It was only one option in the A, B, C, D, E format. So that was also there. Assigned play order requires what? Ingenious deductive work. He's very important because of list of Shakespeare's plays in Pallady's Thamia. And he mentions what? 12 of Shakespearean plays. He's important because of the arrangement of the Shakespeare's plays. Because as we know, there are not enough evidence that we know all of them are in order. As you know in that first folio, plays are not in chronology order. So here that Mears have some of the idea about the plays, like when it was published. And he also notes that his Venus and Adonis, his Lucrece and Serge sonnet. So all these things we know from that Francis Mears. And now it's time to remember the order of the play. Very important. In your exam, it's like a must. 100% it is coming that the chronology of Shakespeare. So I just want to tell you one thing. How you can make it our formula first and the last. First, you should know, start with Henry VI, and end with what? Henry VIII. So very important that you should know these points in order to arrange everything. And Henry IV, how many plays are there? 3 Henry, total 3 parts. So your 3 plays covered. Then again history plays are there, so you should know that it is Richard, Edward, Edward. So kind of your 3, 4, 5 and 6 plays are already covered here. Then another plays come with it, also history plays. So you should know total plays are 8 Henry plays. So you can just minus from 38 8. So you're left with 30, right? And remember, first 3 together, 3 Henry, fourth hai, and 3 Henry. Okay, this is the same. 1 Henry. Actually, this could be Henry. This is 6 and this is 4. Both 3 3. So very important that you should know the how many Henry plays are there. So total 8. Total Richard plays are 2. Total Edward plays 1. Total King John 1. Total Roman plays are 4. And all are tragedy. Antony and Cleopatra, Coriolanus, Julius Caesar, and Titus Andronicus. So total how many plays you have covered here? Like as you can see, 8 plus 2 plus 1, 1 and 4. All are these history plays. So total you have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 16. So already 16 plays you know. And also the order. Remember, first and last. And before that, you can just put Tempest in order. And here you can put the first comedy, which is what? Comedy First history, then comedy. You can just put with the name comedy. We have what? The comedy of error. With the name, you can the comedy of errors. So kind of you have covered this and this, right? And in between, what do we have? The last tragedy. I mean, in the great four tragedy, as you know, Hamlet, right? King Lear. Then we have Othello, and then we have Macbeth. So if you know all these three great tragedy, Macbeth, four tragedy, then you can arrange all these two. Right. Where is the dates? Yeah. As you know, the last one is Henry. Here is a lot of space that we can make. First work Henry, and it also ends with Henry. Last Henry. This time 8, this time 6. Then again it started Henry 4. But first and last, above that you can put the Tempest. Below this you can put Comedy of Error. Very important that you should know the these order. Then you can just and remember the last one is your tragedy in the great tragedy. You can just put two set here, Macbeth and King Lear, and two set here, your Hamlet and Othello. So you know the order, right? From here, from here. And now the great romance, if you can just put it somewhere, I'll tell you. Then the winter. So after winter, always what comes? The rains. Usually summer, but we can put the what rain. So after winter you can put cloud and rain, so that you can remember the order of these two. So you see, you can remember the order of all these three plays here. You can remember the order of this here, and you can remember the order of this. So basically if you remember only this, you will be able to answer on chronology order. Okay. So this is done here. Now the list of the plays are there. Now before that, I just wanna show there are total how many comedies? 12. So the names are here. In that, like 3 or 4 are important. Like the 12th night, most important. They ask question. They ask from Midnight Summer's Dream, and not much of these. So these two you have to remember. And there are how many total? Total tragedy 10. 4 of them are Romans. What the Romans we already talked. Roman plays: Antony, Cleopatra, Coriolanus, Julius Caesar, and Titus Andronicus. Total tragic comedies are 5: Cymbeline, The Winter's Tale, The Tempest, Pericles, Prince of Tyre, and Two Noble uh, of Kinsmen. Total problem plays are Measure for Measure, all wells that ends well, trolleys and crits. They are why problem plays, because they are neither comedy nor tragedy, and they don't follow any order like the unity, any unity they don't follow. So that's why they called it problem plays. So as you can see here, some of the code that you can make for the beginning, like, as you know, Shakespeare was born in 1564 and his career started in 1590. When he was only 26, he started his career with Henry IV and ended his career with Henry VIII. First 2 years, this he wrote Henry, all Henry and Richard and Edward. In the same year, his first immature comedy appeared, The Comedy of Errors. Next year, in 1594, he wrote four plays called Tit for Tat, means Titus Andronicus, The Taming, this TA, Taming of the Shrew. Then we have code Love Story of Romeo and Juliet, which means lovers, labor lost, Romeo and Juliet. These are the code. Another code, as you can remember, in 1595 he wrote two plays called A Midsummer in Verona. So Midsummer Night Dream, The Two Gentlemen of Verona. And in 1596 he wrote what, Richard the Merchant, means Richard II and the Merchant of Venice. Very important code that you have to remember. In next 2 year he wrote what, Henry IV, all parts, and much ado about nothing. And Henry V and Julius Caesar came in 1599. Other, as you can see, the Merry Wives of Windsor, as you like it. And 1601 is very important for you because of Hamlet and Twelfth Night. So first great tragedy, Hamlet, came first. Very important. Then we have Troilus and Cressida. Very important. Here is the second one is Macbeth, and then third most famous is Othello, and the last one is what? Sorry, Macbeth is later. Othello is first, as I told you before. Just wait a minute. Hamlet. Then we have Othello. Where is King Lear? Then we have King Lear. And then we have Macbeth. So you can put Macbeth at the end in the four great tragedy. So that you also remember. Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, Macbeth. So that order you should know. See, if you know all this, you will be able to answer the chronology type of question. Why we are paying more, discussing more about it, because that's what they are asking. The order, the chronology order. So last, as I told you, Henry VIII, and before that is Tempest, and before that what happens? Winter. First winter comes, then Tempest. From below, if you go, Henry, Tempest, Winter. Okay, so these three code you remember, these three you remember, these four you remember, these three you remember, right? So these three. So all the order is clear right now for you. If yes, then type yes in the comment below. Then we'll quickly move to important place. So just give me like 1 minute. I'll be back quickly. I have to put the laptop on charge, so we don't have to bother again. Anyway. Okay, that's fine now. Okay, great. So I'm back here and we'll quickly move where to all the plays what you have to remember and what kind of question they have asked before. So first four you don't need to bother about. What you have to bother about the Falstaff character and his relationship with Prince Hall. That's all in whole, like for three plays. That's what you have to remember. In Richard III, what you have to remember, because the source of this play is this. So how many Macbeth is also taken from this source, so that you have to uh, connect with. That question they'll ask in Richard, nothing else. Edward III, you don't have to remember much. So how many play covered? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Comedy of error. What do you have to remember here is the characters. So very important, this place and this character. Not much of the thing, and if you want to know the plot of it, I can tell you. Tell me if you know, if you want to know the plot, and then I'll stick here, otherwise I'll move to next play. Right. Okay, do you want me to explain this summary? Say yes or no. Okay. You don't have to remember the summary of it anyway. In exam, they don't ask. They ask these two things in comedy of error, and that's all. Then we have Titus Andronicus. And in Titus Andronicus, what what kind of question you get? Because it was collaborated with George Peele. That you have to remember in Titus Andronicus. And very important is that Titus is from Tamara, from Roman army present Tamara, queen of Goth. So these two, Titus, Tamara. And very important scene in here is, but soft, me think I do digress too much. Okay. In Taming of the Shrew, again, you don't have to remember much of it, but you have to remember that it is about Petruchio and Katharina. This is the question they have asked before in option. So this you have to know. Nothing much about it. Then we have Love's Labors Lost. They ask because of couple of things. It's not here mentioned, I guess. But see, we have Love's Labor Lost. You remember the code, right? Love between or love story of Romeo Juliet, which means this work comes first and then Romeo Juliet comes. So this is the code. So you cannot remember the whole code together, but in short form, like in a group of plays, not all but two or three. Okay. Then we have Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet, very important because of this one character here, Friar Lawrence. Many times they have asked on it of because he was a kind of nurse there, right? A doctor who gave, you know, something to, fake Juliet's death. And then, but we should know the plot of it. Simple. It's set in Verona. The play begins with two family, Montague and Capulet. These families are, kind of against each other. They don't like them. They don't like each other. And Romeo in the beginning, set of what happens in the beginning. Uh, there is a ball party. There's a party happening, and Romeo comes with a broken heart, falls in love with Juliet, falls in love with Juliet, and then what happened? He goes to balcony and proposes her. That's what happened, and nothing much. Then later, what you have to remember that see that balcony scene is important in Romeo and Juliet because he confesses their secret love. And the next big thing happens here in the friar cell. Friar Lawrence, this guy is very important in your exam. I don't know why, but anyway, agrees to marry the lovers to the that they can end the feud between the family. What happens again in the street? Tybalt confronts Romeo and they fight in a duel, and Mercutio death. Tybalt kills Mercutio during during the duel, where in Verona's square, and what in revenge, Romeo kills Tybalt. That what happens, and couple of very important scene there, like, oh, I'm fortune fool. Romeo laments after killing Tybalt. Juliet room, what happened? Juliet receive what a sleeping potion from our friar Lawrence to fake her death. But what Romeo sees, uh, Juliet's that fake body, kind of fake death. He stabs himself, right? And through that, the same poison, Romeo drinks the poison, believing Juliet is truly dead. And Juliet awakens in Tom. Juliet again, see, and lifeless body, and she stabs. Romeo drinks the poison and she stabs. That's how Romeo Juliet ends. And very important is the last one, the final words. What in the town square the prince concludes, never was a story more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo. And Midsummer Night's Dream. Here very important, and they ask question from three things. The character, this Hippolyte, their wedding opening scene, and it's set in Athens. These are ABCD statement kind of question they ask. And remember, six amateur character preparing a play for the wedding. So it has play within a play. Play within a play. Very important. That's why this particular work is important. And very important is this Puck. Mr. Puck causes both boy to fall in love with the same girl. Because of that magic spell, right? That is what important in Midsummer's Night Dream. And Two Gentlemen of Verona, you should know it's a pastoral story, and these are two guys, Proteus, Valentine or Valentine. That's what you have to remember. And very important thing is this, the primary source was what? George de Montemayor's work, Los Siete Litros. So some imagine that, you know, get an idea that it was from this guy, and it has Geoffrey Chaucer's. It is also inspired from Knight's Tale by Geoffrey Chaucer. That's all. King John, not much to know about it. They don't ask. And Richard II, very important because of this guy, John of Gaunt. They ask question from this character. And as you know, he's the Duke of Lancaster and the father of Henry Bolingbroke. And remember, very important speech of John of Gaunt, is this England? And it appears in Act 2, Scene 1. That's all you have to remember in Richard II. And Merchant of Venice, everybody knows the story of Shylock, right? And his famous speech, hath not a Jew eyes. Very important. So Shylock, other character you have to pay attention about Antonio, Bassanio and Portia. So these four characters and everything is involved around them. Whole plot and story, all the actions, right? And it is also important for Portia's speech of mercy in the court. She kind of gives this speech, the quality of mercy in the court. Important. And it is also important because of disguise. That's all there in the Merchant of Venice that you have to know. Okay, to Henry, not important. We can just move forward. And much ado about nothing. There is a whole plot here. You have to remember the theme combines from Orlando Furioso and the Fairy Queen, both. For in that case, this is important. Important characters, as you know, we have uh, Beatrice. There are two plots, Claudio Hero and another is here Beatrice Benedict. What actually happens? Claudio falls in love with Hero, who's a daughter of Leonato. So this is a female character. Beatrice and Benedict are tricked into thinking they are in love. Don John plots to ruin Hero and Claudio relationship. And at the end, what happened? They unite. That's all. There in much ado about what nothing. Henry V, not much to remember. Julius Caesar, you have to remember because of the Brutus. That's all. And the famous quote, et tu, Bruto. That one, Brute. Right, the merry wives of Windsor. You have to remember that Falstaff another, but this time he is what? Kind of fool character, kind of clown he is appeared here. That's why it's important. As you like it, because this is important. The question they asked only because of that. On Rosalind by Thomas Lodge. It was inspired from this. Okay. And some of the important speeches, as you can see here, we have all the world is the stage and we're all merely a players, right? Remember that quote, very important. It was from where? As you like it. And who said it? Jake. Too much of a good thing. A fool, I met a fool in the forest. These quotes are important. We have Orlando here, major character in the play, and who is mistreated by his brother Oliver. Challenger Charles the wrestler. So Orlando, Rosalind. These two very important figure or important character that you have to remember in the play. And one of the most important in all the time they ask question because of this fool. Touchstone. Whose country girl? Okay. And this is the play which also ends with a dance. Next is Hamlet. Everybody knows the plot of it and what happens, but you guys should know what kind of question you might get in the exam. Not directly from the plot, but you will get like questions from, like, Yorick was a jester in Hamlet, his skull held by Hamlet in the graveyard scene. So that graveyard scene because of Yorick, and it was his skull. Three Sisters and the Seagull by Chekhov draw from Shakespeare's Hamlet. Very important. They have asked twice. This question has come. The Seagull explores was what lost opportunity, generational conflict, and referencing Hamlet. Another question that they are keep asking about the Alfred jury Uburoi. They're asking not from one, but they put Macbeth there and Hamlet in different question papers, different. But eventually answer was Uberoi. Uberoi. Very important that they are asking question, and they have asked question from this line: when sorrow comes, they come not single spies. Hamlet. Where Marcellus says something is rotten in the state of Denmark. So if a Denmark comes, you will immediately know it's about Hamlet. Time of joint is spoken by Hamlet after seeing his father's ghost. So you're getting question directly from here, not from the plot. So that you have to remember. And you should remember of the plot to be or not to be. That soliloquy that you have to remember. There is a play within a play, very important. The murder of Gonzago, used by Hamlet to reveal Claudius' guilt. Right. That's what you have to know in the Hamlet, but I'll tell you also the plot. So setting is what? It's in Denmark. Ghost comes in a royal court, and which is haunted by a ghost of late king whose also name was Hamlet, and King's Hamlet ghost, and tells who Hamlet, that Claudius has murdered me, and he what revenge his fallen most unnatural murder in the castle battlement. And what other thing happens, that first soliloquy in Elsinore, oh that this too sullied fresh would melt. So that was the first soliloquy that you have to remember. Claudius guilt, marriage to Gertrude. Right, Claudius, now the king, as you know, after the murder of the king, late king Hamlet, and he has married to Gertrude, Hamlet's mother, quickly after the old king's death, and that actually sparks the disgust and kind of revenge feeling in Hamlet. As you know, play within a play happens, the murder of Gonzago, to confirm if he is really a murderer, who Claudius. And the plays the thing, Hamlet declares, the plays the thing wherein I'll catch the king. Then important soliloquy happen, is to be or not to be. And after that, what happened when Hamlet rejects Ophelia, then Ophelia goes mad and she what? Commit suicide. She drowned herself actually when she found out that her father's Polonius is dead, because, as you know, Hamlet stabbed him, thinking that it was Claudius. Right? Hamlet's exiled to England, and what happened there? Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. They goes with Hamlet for what? To execute him, but it doesn't happen. So all these thing happens here, and at the end there is a duel. Lats what challenges him, they injured each other and they die. And at his final word is, the rest is silence. So that's all you have to remember in Hamlet. Next is Twelfth Night. You know the plot of it, I guess. Remember, it starts in a court where Duke Orsino kind of, you know, share his love with with a song. Remember, very important line in the beginning of the play. Important character Viola, shipwrecked and believe her twin Sebastian is dead. We have Cesario, another important, actually disguise Viola as a boy. Very important. So I hope you know the plot of Twelfth Night. What we are going to do, the question that they are asking. So the question they have asked is this: some are born great, others achieve greatness. From Twelfth Night, they have asked the question about it. Troilus and Cressida, very important only because it was based on George Chapman's translation of the Iliad, 15th century accounts of the Trojan War by John Lydgate and William Caxton. All well that ends well. Very short plot that I have made for you. Here we have Buttram is compelled to marry Helena. Buttram refuses to what consummate their marriage. He goes to Italy. In Italy, Buttram courts another girl, Diana. Helena meets Diana and they perform the bed trick. The play is considered one of Shakespeare's problem play. That's why it's famous. Measure for Measure is famous because it's a dark comedy. Othello is very important. They ask kind of every time question based on Othello. So I'll tell you the first plot. It's about betrayal and all about that just unchaste kind of play. I'll tell you first what kind of question they have asked. Actually, let's move to the first plot and then we'll move to the questions. Othello, as you know, he's a black. And when he's a black, who will be offended by? Derek Walcott later. Walcott. Remember, he's offended and he wrote a poem. So, in the first, this kind of question they're asking. Right. And as you know, Othello, as a Moorish general in the Venetian army, marries who? Desdemona. So basically, here we have Othello, right? Falls in love with Desdemona. And another character comes, what? Because Iago, who's another character, is kind of villain. He is actually jealous of another character, which is Cassio. And these are the guys who actually messed up everything here. So Cassio is appointed as Othello's lieutenant, making Iago kind of jealous. And to his jealousy, what he's willing to do, plots to make Othello believe that Desdemona is unfaithful with Cassio. So we have this Cassio. So this plots who their love thing, that he tells ki Desdemona is in love with this guy. They have a thing and he tells him. And what happens when he kind of heard this? What is that? He just kills Desdemona, kills both. That's the whole story of it, right? Very important symbol is handkerchief. So you get question from this. A gift from Othello to Desdemona becomes a key symbol of fidelity. So again, that is what happened in the whole Othello. Nothing much to, and if you can read it, it's really good for you. But for the exam point of view, you should know the small plot of it, what happens in it, and the important is this thing. Selegal viewed Othello's the criticism. Most of the time, Othello is not remembered for the good thing, but it is remembered for the criticism. So that you should know. This is the only play where he got so much criticism. Like Selegal viewed Othello's downfall as a return to wild nature. Samuel Johnson said what? Praised Othello for its compelling human behavior depiction. So Samuel Johnson supported it. Johnson highlighted Othello's fiery openness, Desdemona's soft simplicity. Coleridge said what? Othello as driven by wounded honor and moral indignation. Coleridge described Iago as motive hunting motive of malignity. All the time they are asking question based on this thing. Right. A.C. Bradley viewed Othello as noble exploit by Iago's manipulation. Bradley emphasized the tragic and emotional intense nature of Othello. Remember, G. Wilson Knight actually what criticizes who Bradley's view, and what he said that Othello is a formal beauty. So he was A.C. Bradley was against it, and G. Wilson supported it. Right. So that feud they ask most of the time. This feud, their view, they're counter attacking each other here for the Othello. Right. So that is very important. There were three questions based on that. F.R. Lewis criticized Bradley for overly sentimentalizing Othello's character. William Empson, another critic, what focused on the repeated use of word honest. John Campbell South questioned Shakespeare's what hatred for Iago and Edmund. So Edmund, you know, the character from King Lear, and Iago is in your Othello. Thomas Rhymer criticized Othello. Why he criticizes from neoclassical principle. Very important quote that you get in exam, and recently they asked, I will wear my heart upon my sleeves, is by what? Iago said it. Derek Walcott. This is very important question that I told you in the beginning of the play. Like he, as you know, our character Othello is black, right? So some of them could be offended later. So to that they have that Derek Walker critiqued what racism using the lines from Othello in his poem. In his poem, remember, goats and monkeys, very important, and they have asked question based on that. Macbeth is important. Again, I told you there are two works, right? That it was taken from Raphael's Hall in Sed's Chronicle of England, Scotland, and Ireland. Always you get question. If they can ask from Macbeth, and another was where in the beginning. Remember, where is it? Yeah, Richard III. So we have two plays here, as you can see. Another play is Richard. Very important that you should know. Okay. So what happened? Let me tell you the plot in very simple way. There are three witches in the beginning. They're singing toil and trouble, all this stuff, right? They tell what our two guys who are just returning from the battle. One is Macbeth, and another is who? Uh, Duncan. Duncan is the king, Banco. Yes, these two. Very important. They are returning from the battle. Witches comes and tells them different prophecy. They say that Macbeth, you will be a king, and for the Banco, your children will be a king. That exactly what happened, and from that, every downfall happens. So remember, the question comes from Raphael's Hollinshead Chronicle of England, Scotland, and Ireland. Remember, these three witches tells what Macbeth that he'll be a king. Encouraged by his wife, Macbeth what goes and kills the king, becomes a new king. He kills more people, and civil war erupts. Macbeth's ambition after hearing the witch's prophecy, Macbeth is consumed by becoming the king with Lady Macbeth. They kill the King Duncan, and that dagger soliloquy very important. Where is Macbeth says, "Is this a dagger which I see before me?" And murder of King Duncan. Macbeth kills Duncan while he sleeps. Lady Macbeth kind of frames the guard, stating Macbeth is, into guilt and paranoia. And the symbol of blood, very important line, will all great Neptune ocean kind of wash this blood clean from my hand. Banco murder, fearing Banco descendant will inherit the throne. So, what through the prophecy, what he did, Macbeth actually murdered King. But Banco's son, he kind of flee from, kind of escapes from there, and Banco's ghost again appearing again, and what happens? Witches again comes and says that, and they present him with riddles. No man born of woman shall harm Macbeth, giving him false confidence. Lady Macbeth's guilt. Lady Macbeth begins to unravel sleepwalking and a kind of obsessively washing her hands, saying "out damned spot." Very important line. And Macduff, as you know, it was Banquo's son, right? He's exiled, suspicious of Macbeth, flees to England to gather an army. Meanwhile, Macbeth has Macduff's family murder. Macduff's revenge. What happened? The English army, led by Malkin and Macduff, advances on Macbeth, and Macbeth learns that Macduff was born from his mother's womb untimely ripped. So, technically, he was not born, it was actually taken, right? So, that's how the witches' prophecy fulfill. And death of Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth dies of stage, possibly by suicide, and the ultimate price of her guilt and ambition. And Macbeth's death happened. The final battle, Macduff kills Macbeth, bringing an end of his tyrannical rule. Turn, hellhound, turn. That was the word. Now, what happened? Crowning of Malcolm. Malcolm is a kind of a crowned king, restoring order to Scotland and ending the cycle of violence and Macbeth's ambition unleashed. Come what come may, time and the hour runs. There is no art to find mind's construction. King Duncan in Macbeth. That was the question actually they asked. That's why we have put the quote here. A very important question these days are asking from Macbeth from Indian literature view is that Maqbool 2004, a Hindi crime drama reimagining Macbeth, directed by Vishal Bharadwaj. As you know, Vishal Bharadwaj is known for adapting Shakespeare's. Again, the same question they asked. Remember, Ubu Roy, a parody of Macbeth, blending element from Hamlet and King Lear. Girish Chandra Ghosh, another recent question they asked, that he was, he translated Macbeth in Bangla in 1893. So this was the recent question that you have to know. Then we have King Lear. Everybody knows the story. The king, what the king divides the kingdom into three parts, but the third one doesn't take, he didn't give. So all these two for them, who? Cordelia, sorry, Gonriel and Regan. Cordelia is kind of a very good character here for us, and then you'll know. And what happens after that? He realized, and he most of the time got, bad treatment from these two girls, and eventually he goes mad with his pride and all. So all these things happen. Then there is a storm, remember, very important because uh, there is a very important work in Indian called Tufan, I think. It was taken from Macbeth's storm. That I'll no, it is from Tempest. Sorry, it is from Tempest. That we'll talk about later. Anyway, so Edmund, very kind of bad character, you can say. He actually kills who has tried to scheme. He's a kind of bastard, and he wants to kind of makes plot against uh, Edgar, who's actually real son of Gloucester. And remember, this Gloucester is taken from this. So the question was here very important. Uh, this they have asked question based on that. Shakespeare use of Arcadia enriches the tragic death of Gloucester subplot. So from Arcadia by Philip Sidney has taken this plot. So very important that you should know about that. Anyway, where one of the important thing happens also of this thing about the cage. This question: we two alone will sing like birds in cage. Very important quote. Sometime they ask in match the following. So Edmund orders Cordelia's death, and despite his last minute remorse, she is hanged. Lear what dies a broken heart holding Cordelia's body, saying howl, howl, howl. Very important. The play ends with Edgar Albany taking control of the kingdom. And remember, Edmund Bond's Lear is a play that he has taken from King Lear's. I am a man more sinned against than sinning. Very important quote from Lear where he laments his unjust suffering. Very important, George Orwell from his George Orwell's essay. Remember, Lear, Tolstoy, and the Fool. Critique Tolstoy views on Shakespeare. This question was asked. Is man no more than this? Lear reflects on man's vulnerable, unadorned state. A dog's obeyed in office, played sin with gold. Gloucester's subplot in King Lear, as you know, inspired by this. Again, that's very important. Same, these two. Thou rascal, beadle, hold thy bloody hand. Lear denounces societal hypocrisy. The usurer hangs the cozener. Another important, but remember these two that they are keep asking about it. Antonio and Cleopatra, same story that again the love between Antonio and Cleopatra, and because the rival Octavius Caesar, everything happens. What happens? She eventually. So the question was about the this asp. This was the question they are asking. And the final word also. Give me robe, put on my crown. I have immortal longing in me. And one of the important same plot that you can see here, All for Love, written by John Dryden, based on Antonio and Cleopatra. Timons of Athens is important because it is unfinished and probably finished by who? Thomas Middleton. Pericles, in Pericles, what you have to remember is based on Apollonius and of Tyre. Not question many There was no question about it, but there was a question on chronology order of this play. Then we have Cymbeline. No, we didn't find any question on Cymbeline, only the chronology order. And Winter's Tale, it's the same thing. The Tempest, we found a lot of question. You know the story, what happens, right? In a storm, ship got wrecked, and all the people are there trapped in an island, and the island is ruled by who? Prospero, who was once a king, right? From he was a duke in Milan before, and here in the island, what happened? He becomes a magician, right? And he does all the storm, all the things, and scheming, whatever happens. And as you know, there is major character Miranda, and Miranda was Prospero's daughter. We have Caliban, who's a savage servant, Caliban, and then we have Ariel, who's the spirit, and Prospero controls her. And Prospero conjure, as you know, the shipwreck, King Alonso, his son Ferdinand. So love these two. They are arranging this. And Ferdinand is thought dead but survives on another shore. Prospero tells Ferdinand by forcing him to labor. Sebastian plot to kill King Alonso. Ariel foils Sebastian's and Antonio's assassination attempt. Caliban, Stefano, and Truchlo. All these characters, if you know the plot, it's very good because they are asking question on that most of the time, you know, and especially on Caliban. Also, they are asking about Ariel and other thing like the question that we have seen in past 5 to 6 years is from this. The Sea in the Mirror, a contemporary on Shakespeare's The Tempest, is a long poem by W.H. Auden. So this question was recently asked. Very important that you should remember. As you know, regarded the work as my ars poetra in same way, I believe The Tempest to have been Shakespeare. So that was the quote or line from W.H. Auden. Very important that you should know. The recent question was on that itself. And the two noble kinsmen, remember that it was written by with John Fletcher. That's why it's important. And the primary source is from The Knight's Tale, Geoffrey Chaucer, Canterbury. Last one is very important because of my drops of tear I'll turn to sparks fire. There is another little bit about it. I'll just post something because I didn't get much time to put on Henry VIII, but there is important couple of characters that I would wanted to kind of put that I didn't get time. So that is all there, and now we just going to focus the other thing that they have asked about Shakespeare, in the exam, all the facts that you can see here. So first they have asked about the problem plays, and they asked to categorize. And remember, this is the scholar who coined the term problem play, different category. As you know, we have history plays, right? Shakespeare's. Then we have a romantic, right? Comedy. We have tragicomedy. And fifth one he introduced, that is a problem play. So these are the type we have in Shakespeare. And what are the problem plays? You can see Always the Densville, Measure for Measure, The Merchant of Venice, Demons of Athens, Troilus and Cressida, The Winter's Tale. So all these are problem play. Another important question that they have asked from Wolfgang Iser, as you know, he is a literary German scholar and very best known for his reader response criticism. The theory began to evolve around 1967 while he was working at the university. He helped to find the 1960s in his studies of Shakespeare's history, particular Richard II. Iser interrupts Richard's continuously changing. So these are the question that they have asked. In 1668, as you know, dramatic poesy, whether French drama, as Leicester maintains, is better than English drama. Neander, who support Shakespeare. That is very important. The greatest soul, ancient or modern. So that was the quote from dramatic poetry, and that was the question also that they have asked in the past. So Julius Caesar, another what they have asked about it is where the source was taken. Very important that I wanted to mention Plutarch. This one very important. Just that you have to remember. This was the recent question that they have asked. On heroes and hero worship, Thomas Carlyle, published in 1841, he discussed who Muhammad, Shakespeare, and Napoleon. For example, another one is A Dead Man in Deptford. As we know, it's for the Marlowe, right? But it is also by, you know, uh, you saw in Burgess' novel, Nothing Like the Sun is from Shakespeare. This is Marlowe, and Nothing Like the Sun is Shakespeare. Very important question that you get in your exam. A.D. Hope's another one, a book of answers where he talks about the Shakespeare, Marvel, Donne, Milton, Tennyson, Heine, it's Mallarmé and Auden. So kind of everything he's doing. I mean, every poet or dramatist he is talking about. William Hazlitt, as you know, he wrote about the my first acquaintance with poets. And in his essay, Hazlitt describes his love for poetry, how he was introduced to it as child by his father, who would read him poems by Shakespeare. Very important. An important character that we discussed in the beginning of the class, that was about James Burbage. As you know, prominent figure in the English Renaissance theatre, he shared a close friendship and business partnership with Shakespeare. Very important point that you should know. The plays of William Shakespeare, as you know, is by Samuel Johnson. Then we have Shakespeare used an episode from Arcadia we discussed as the source for the Gloucester subplot in King Lear. The Seven Books of Diana is a pastoral romance by Spanish author George de Montaigne, all famous for Shakespeare. Oh yeah. Matthew Arnold, in his study of poetry, what he said, Chaucer does not have high seriousness, but Homer, Shakespeare, Milton, and others had. Very important. We also discussed in the beginning when we were talking about Chaucer. Remember? So William Hazlitt next. What he also wrote the characters of Shakespeare's play in 1817. Ariel, another thing that they have asked about the poems, right? Plath's poem, and it was inspired by the Tempest. There is a spirit, right? Ariel. There he talked about. And The Sea and the Mirror, a contemporary on Shakespeare. We already discussed poem by W.H. Auden. So these things they have asked in the past. Charles Dickens, and what is there? Because household words. It was taken from Shakespeare's Henry V. Very important point that you should know. They have asked question based on that. And as we have discussed about the Holinshed, Scotland, we know Macbeth, right? Macbeth, and what was the other? Can you write in the chat box? It was Richard the Third, right? These are the sources. And then Alan Sinford and Jonathan Dollimore were British literary critic, as we know, cultural theories who played an important role in the development of cultural material, as you know. And they have written what together, very important, political Shakespeare in cultural materialism. Why I have mentioned it? Because 100% you get question from this thing. Mostly match the following. So there will be like preface to Shakespeare, then political Shakespeare, then there will be Shakespeare, other options, and one of them is that they are asking it. Jonathan Bate, as we know, is a British literary critic, and he said he also wrote on William Shakespeare. And in the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, the poem known as Prufrock, right? It's a debut poem by T.S. Eliot. And why we have mentioned here because he draws all the kind of influence from Henry the Eighth, Twelfth Night, Hamlet, all these things, right? And Peter Brook is important because he was a theater and film actor. And Alan Sinfield, another important, that known for groundbreaking contribution in Shakespeare's and sexuality. Shakespeare authority, political Shakespeare, all these things. Remember that. Raja Roy, the cat and the Shakespeare. Remember, one word is there, Shakespeare. Then we can just quickly move to the questions. So we have already, you know, talked about whole Shakespeare, and we have kind of covered every single stuff that they have asked in the past, and you're going to get question only from what we have discussed so far. So some of the questions we have, like a lot of questions here, that I'll have a separate session with the explanation, because if I move right now, we'll have just look on in the questions but not in the explanation. So what do you want me to do? Shall I move it for tonight, or shall I do it right now? Right now or later, in the chat box, whoever is there. Okay. Okay, we can do it tonight, this thing, and we'll discuss. Maybe 9 or 10 o'clock, we'll have a session on explanation, separate session, and that'll help you a lot. So for now, I think we should take a leave, because already we have how many hours? 2 hours something. 1 hour 33 minutes. That's enough for today, right? We can just do it tomorrow. Not tomorrow, tonight itself. The question, PYQ question. So thank you so much, and whoever, okay, always like the video if you like it, and comment if possible, and bye and have a good day.